Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest episode of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. The brothers Max and here with you. I'm Nate. That's Aaron.
Hello.
And of course, we are continuing our journey through the Clash of the Champions. This week, we are going to September 12th, 1989, Clash of the Champions 8, the Fall Brawl. It is Columbus, South Carolina, and
Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina. Columbus is in
Easy.
Georgia or Ohio. My bad.
Yeah, to say it's easy. It's our state capital. So yeah, that's easy. That's up.
So I did want to say, just before we start, just for a minute, to honor the fact that this is the first Clash we've seen that has it. Lex Luger finally has
This kick-ass
my
music.
favorite. I had to play a little bit of it. One of my favorite wrestling themes of all time is finally here. The Lex Luger 89 through 92 music. Just a moment. I'm watching the show. I'm like, yeah, bobbing my head.
Yeah. It's an era. I don't know if you want me to talk over your song.
Oh, no, it's fine. I fucking love that theme.
Yeah. It's an era of really good WCW music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got good music. Sting's music's cool. The music that Pillman's going to wind up with is cool. The Steiners is cool. Doom has like the greatest theme. Sid has a good one. It's all good.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of times. Oh, good.
I was just gonna say it's funny that you say that because as we go through these episodes, I might wind up playing some more of these themes. You just said Doom, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Doom."
Yeah, like I said, I like the Steiner brothers, and it's funny because like it doesn't get talked about enough, but like WCW was actually ahead of the curve on Vince with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like everybody having music and set design, and like you could tell when they got bought by a television production company. It might have not always been the best visually or whatever, but like the elaborate set, the fireworks, like
right.
Luger when he would come out and he'd be on his little turntable, and he'd spin, shit like that. And that's like it was always cool to me when I was a kid.
All right.
Cool, but...
Yes, and we will get into the show here in just a moment, the Clash of the Champions. But first, let's get in the Wayback Machine, talk movies and music from September of 1989.
Yes. We'll go with the songs first. The one song I do know, I said I didn't know either one of them, but I do know the song. I just hate it, so I try to pretend it doesn't exist. But the number one song, I don't even know what it is. You'll never guess it. So I can just tell you.
Okay.
It's a song called "Ride on Time" by Black Box. I don't know that song.
Don't know that song.
I have no idea, but apparently for at least 1 week it was a big deal. And then the other song is "Right Here Waiting" by Richard Marx.
Right Here Waiting by Richard Marx.
Ugh.
I was hoping you'd say like Bust a Move or something for late 89.
No, it's Richard Marx.
It's funny. It's not Bust a Move, but it's a late 80s rap song. The other day, sometimes I'm doing things around the house and I realize that I'm a 46-year-old domesticated man washing dishes listening to Tupac. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other day I found myself back to washing the dishes, but I'm washing the dishes. There's nobody in the house but me and the dog. And I am at the top of my lungs singing Bismarcky. You
ridiculous.
Got what I need.
Yeah,
I love
that's ridiculous.
that song. But anyway,
we're gonna be old and be like, Back That Ass Up is gonna come on, and people are gonna
I
like
always
it.
think,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always think of myself old listening to "Hit 'Em Up" by Tupac.
yeah.
That's why I
I think
fucking go
about the
bitch,
Ron.
you fat motherfucker.
Yeah, take money.
Don't one of y'all motherfuckers got sickle cell or something?
Yeah, it's gonna be a thing. And then kind of like that Pete Holmes thing where he's talking about playing the music and the old people
Yeah,
reacting
yeah.
to it. Some guys that cut my life into pieces. I can say it. Anyway.
Which
Now
comedian does the thing where he's like, "Your grandmother was a hoe"?
I think
Is it Nick
I think it's
Swartzen?
I
Is it
think
Nick?
so.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I got
Yeah.
sidetracked there.
Where's my Dr. Dre CD?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, your grandmother was a hoe.
yeah, I think it's him. All right. The movies. The number 2 movie, I mean, it's easy to guess. It's still up there, but it got knocked down by something. It's Batman. Okay, so Batman's still making gangbuster money. I bet that movie was probably in the top 10 for as long as it was in the theaters.
Yeah, most
Because
likely.
people just kept going back to see it because they'd never seen anything like it before. Funny thing, did you know that got when they played the first trailer for that, like in Los Angeles, and they showed it was Michael Keaton, people booed.
I don't know if I ever heard that or not.
Yeah, like the exclusive debut of the Batman trailer, and people saw Michael Keaton, they booed it because all they thought about Michael Keaton was like Doctor Detroit and
Right, Mr.
Johnny
Mom.
Dangerously, Mr. Mom. They're like, this comedian is gonna be Batman. See, it's like things never change. Like it's still like that today. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
No, just like
Christian
when,
Bale's gonna be Batman.
when people were like, Heath
The
Ledger's
Twilight
gonna be the
guys.
Joker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Twilight guys, Batman. Yeah, they just get shit on it before they even see it. But yeah, okay. So, do you want to guess the number 3 movie?
Okay, comedy or action or sci-fi or what?
All of it. It's funny because it's every single one of those all rolled into one movie.
I don't know.
Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
It's a
hey,
comedy action sci-fi movie.
I guessed that one last week and was wrong.
Yeah.
There it
Yeah.
is. There it is.
Yes.
And
Funny
all the
ass
while, the
movie.
slime was under the building. Yes.
Funny ass movie. And then
Vigo.
the number 1 movie is another. Oh, good. Did you have something about Ghostbusters?
No, I just said Vigo.
Yeah, good fucking movie. Then the number 1 movie is a comedy drama.
Comedy drama?
Yes. I mean, more comedy than drama, but it's like
late 89. Give me one person that's in it.
Trying to think other than the main guy, but I'll just give you the main guy. It's a Steve Martin movie.
Parenthood?
Yep.
Okay.
So I was trying to think of the old guy's name. Like he's going, his name is Cool. I couldn't remember his real name, but yeah.
I think that was one of Rick. No, well, Rick Moranis was in that, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because he also had Honey. He was in a lot of movies in '89. Because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I think, came out in '89. Ghostbusters 2, Parenthood, and then his wife died, and he just went and raised his kids.
Yeah, and then he came out of hiding, and I think it was something with Pete Davidson or something. Got him to come out of hiding and do something, and then like a month later, after being a public figure again, some random guy punched him in the face on the street of New York for no reason. And then he went back into hiding. And so he stayed out for like 30 years and was like, all right, I'm time to come back. My kids are adults. And then he just gets fucking drilled in the face. And then everybody, like, it's like, that's shitty. And then everybody was same thing as me, was like, who would hit Rick Moranis? Like, why?
I had to look it up because it was driving me nuts too. The old guy's Jason Robards.
Yeah, that's right. I just couldn't remember it. Like his name was like
No, I couldn't either. I could see his face.
yeah, because he was in everything.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I wanted to say Jason Lancaster, but I'm like that's not right.
It sounds like an old actor
I know it sounds like an old
name.
actor. I think it is probably, but I'm like that's not him. Anyway, those are your 3 top movies: Parenthood, Batman, Ghostbusters. All good movies, and then 2 shitty songs. One that's so bad I don't even remember it or the band. So,
All right.
all right, now let's talk about something good.
Now we'll get into some
I
wrestling.
think.
Gone to
Yeah.
wrestling.
Gone to wrestling. It was nasty.
Fucking going to wrestling. RASSLIN, it's wrestling. All right. 2,600 people. Columbia, South Carolina, the Carolina Coliseum, September 12th, 1989. Clash of the Champions 8, the Fall Brawl. We open up the We open up the show with one of the coolest factions of all time. Gary Hart, Terry Funk, and Great Muta beating up Ric Flair. They show footage of Sting coming out to help Ric Flair.
Don't forget the Dragon Master. He was in there too.
Yes, and the Dragon Master. Kendo Nagasaki, correct?
Yes. Not the British Kendo Nagasaki.
No, not the British Kendo Nagasaki.
The Japanese one. And I think they're still trying to say that Muta was Kabuki's son, I think.
Yes.
Son of Kabuki. Oh, I couldn't.
I think he's pretty much billed as the son of Kabuki until he's not with Gary Hart anymore, because obviously that was a Gary Hart deal.
Yeah. I was trying to. You're always better at the Spanish thing than I am. I was going to try to do it.
El hijo. Sorry. El hijo. El hijo de Kabuki.
But yes, they show that the Sting. I interrupted you, but those guys beating up Ric Flair, and then Sting comes out to save Flair, and Flair's laid out, and it's all. It's a cool time for WCW and a cool feud. I like the Funk, Muta, Flair, Sting feud.
Yes, absolutely. I'm in the same boat. Honestly, at this point, I'm 11. You're probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And like, I know that I watched WWF when I was a child. And I know that I also watched wrestling on Saturdays and watched Clashes of the Champions and stuff when I was a kid. But I was a WWF kid, so the NWA stuff was kind of back then when I was little, it was kind of like a sub genre of wrestling that I just watched because wrestling was on TV. I'm getting to a point here. This little era here of WCW is like the first that I remember WCW triggering in my brain. Now, obviously, as I've gotten older, I've gone back and watched all the JCP stuff, and I know it from from breakfast to dinner at this point.
Yeah.
But as a kid, this is when WCW kind of, I've talked about it, but this year with Muta and Sting and Funk and Flair and Steamboat and all of that is when WCW, I think, really caught my imagination as a kid.
And also like you were talking about, like 7 to like 11, when you're like a wrestling fan, that's when it starts to really click for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like before you're just watching it because it's on TV or whatever, but you don't get like, the fucking story and all that. You see these guys you like and they beat up the little guy and whatever. You don't understand like like watching it. You're like, well, you would now because it was 89, but like if you're 5 years old and you're watching WWE,
you're not picking up on the nuances and shit.
Yeah, all you think is, oh, Macho Man got mad because Hulk Hogan tried to take his manager. You don't realize, like, oh, Macho Man got mad because he thought Hulk Hogan was trying to fuck Elizabeth. You know what I mean? Like, that was in his mind.
Lust in your eye, brother.
Yeah. So I just think this is like the period. It's kind of like when you talk about like SNL, like your favorite SNL is always going to be like the time from when you were in like junior high to when you graduated.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In those time frames, that's going to be your favorite SNL because they're making fun of SNL is really pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making fun of things that you know about at that time, you know?
Right.
So.
And you're hip to the musical guests and you're hip to
the older people are like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Like,
yep. Because I feel that now a lot when I watch SNL. I'm kind of like you. I only really pay attention to Weekend Update, and that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, all right, we're getting off on a tangent there. But
yeah,
the
Jim
announce
Ross
team I was really excited about too.
Me too. Jim Ross and Jim Cornette. They're talking about how there's rumors about something going on with Gary Hart, Terry Funk, and they send us back to the Dean of Wrestling Announcers, looking like he's made out of leather at this point, Gordon Soley. And
these guys popped up, but I'm like, look at these old, like, I don't even be disparaging, but like, they look like the old guys that I remember, like when I was like 5 years old or whatever. Like they have those pants, like we talked about, like that have like the hinge or whatever to,
yeah,
like they don't have a button. What are they called? Seersuckers or something? I don't know what they're called.
like
Huh?
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, seersucker suits or whatever, and that's what they're wearing. Like it's like they don't have a belt. They just like hinge to the thing, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's pleated.
Yeah.
But Gordon Soley, he wants to get to the bottom of, and I swear to God, he says Gary Hart's camp like 400 times in this show. Gary Hart's camp.
And then like, I don't mean to keep getting back on like the old guy stuff, but like one of them's gonna take their shirt off, and you're gonna see like their tank top underneath it. You know, it's weird clothes, like a corner pocket, like hanky in their shirt pocket. Anyway, yeah, I'll get off the clothing part of it.
But yeah, so, Gordon Soley
Huge,
talks with
long zipper, little short pocket. It's like, what's going on? Anyway,
terrible tailors back in the day. Yeah, Gordon Soley interviews Gary Hart, talking about how there problems in your camp, and of course, I like how Gary Hart at first, as this show goes on, is like, "There's no problems in my camp. Everything is fine. You're gonna see everything is fine. Everything's fine, Godden. Everything's fine. Ricky Flair, Sting." And then by the end of it, he's like, "All right, there's some problems." But anyway,
I also like the fact that like as the show goes on too more, he's like he keeps telling Gordon nothing's wrong, and then like the next time he's like, I told you, Gordon, nothing's wrong, and he's like, look, man, like he's starting to get annoyed, like I told you.
And as time goes on, he's like got his handkerchief and he's wiping sweat off his head.
Yeah. And like Gordon, like a fucking dog with a bone, Gordon Soley.
The opening match, the Samoan SWAT team with Paulie Dangerously versus the Road Warriors.
These guys have kind of replaced the Fantastics as being like the go-to quality opening of the show is something with the Samoan SWAT team.
Pretty much.
But this is good. It threw me off because I thought it was gonna be like right away. Like I thought it was gonna start right out as a brawl because they didn't have their pads on. And a lot of times, if you notice, like if a match is gonna start like a jump start thing, they don't wear them obviously because who's going to attack guys that are wearing big spikes and they can't go and just run at a guy and attack him with their big spikes, but they didn't do it. It was kind of weird. I was like, if they weren't gonna do it, why didn't they wear their shit?
Unless they were, I don't know. You know how they were at this time. It, just like with Flair's hair or whatever. Maybe Jim Herd got a burr up his ass. It was like, we need to lose those spikes.
Yeah, we need to lose the thing that people really like about you.
Right. I mean, and I'm not saying that's the fact. I'm just saying that's how shit was back then. At this point.
TBS feels those are an international object and you can't wear them.
But they're fucking marketable, asshole. Anyway. Well, it's just like, I mean, if I remember correctly, let me look them up to make sure. But this match itself, while I'm looking this up, the match was fine. I mean, it was short, but it was fine for what it was.
And honestly, this isn't like a match like the Samoan SWAT team versus the Midnight Express, where I want to watch them wrestle for 25 minutes.
Right.
You know, I want this to be 8 minutes of four guys beating the shit out of each other.
And it pretty much was, and it was effective for what I wanted to look and see, because I couldn't remember. As much as I'm a collector, I could not remember if when they did those WCW action figures back at this time, if they even put out a Road Warriors set.
I don't believe so. I think
I don't. Yeah, and it doesn't look like they did. You know what figures I'm talking about, right? The ones with like that has Sid with the singlet and Luger.
I have all of them except like the British ones, because those are stupid expensive.
Yeah, like the Dustin. I would love to get one of those Dustins, but yeah, they're anyway.
They fucked up the phone spot big time. Like that thing got all kinds of fucked. I don't know if you noticed it or not.
I noticed, like I wrote down here, Paulie tries to use the phone, but Hawk like knocks into Paulie and sends the phone flying.
Well, he's supposed to grab it, he's supposed to grab it, and then he drops it, and he literally if you watch, Hawk drops it on the outside, and he goes to go outside the ring, but I think he knows I'm not going to be able to find this phone, you know. So like in his mind, like I'm not getting out of the ring and fumble fucking around looking for it. That would be stupid. So yeah, like they end up doing it, but then Ellering ends up finding the phone, and they still do the hit him with the phone, but it's not even on camera. And yeah, they fucked the spot up. It wasn't anybody's fault. I mean, he just dropped it. Like it's not like they botched a move or something. The guy just dropped a phone.
Right.
And for 1 second, you can see him thinking, "I'm gonna go get it," and then he changes his mind. Like, nah, I ain't gonna be able to find it. Like, what if it fell off in the ground and went underneath the ring, and then Hawk's got to climb it? Yeah, it's like, nah.
Nope, he just lets Ellering find it for him.
Yes.
So Paul Ellering finds the phone. Sorry, I got lost in my notes there for a minute. LOD win with a Doomsday device.
Yeah, they get the Doomsday on Fatu and win. Like I said, a good solid match.
The phone gets destroyed by Paul Ellering and the Road Warriors. They kind of hit the bricks, and the SST is pissed at Paul Lee.
Yeah. Kind of hitting in a breakup, but I don't think they ever do.
Eventually, Paulie's just not with them anymore, because here soon they're going to be with the Big Kahuna. Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably that time when Paul got sideways with him and tried to sue him.
I'm sure it is one of his lawsuit times. The next thing
we get the nasty Halloween Havoc video.
I have on my notes right here. I feel sexually harassed by this Halloween Havoc commercial with Sting standing over me going, "It's coming."
And Terry Funk. I think there's like Lex Luger. Like, why are you angling it that way?
They're all looking down at me.
Like yes, with their hands on their hips.
I think it's money shot.
The hands on their hips. It's coming. I'm like, good Lord, no. Like, who thought this was a good idea?
I don't know. I don't know if it's Halloween. I don't know if it's Halloween, but I'm definitely scared.
Yeah. Who came up with this marketing campaign?
The only thing creepier, the only creepier Halloween Havoc thing is Tony Schiavone with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was a Jim Barnett inspired commercial.
Oh my boy.
My boy,
fantastic.
Yeah, it's just like, and then I don't know. And but the weird thing is they let everybody else's voice be normal by saying it's coming, but then they made Ric Flair's voice like a demon.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? It's the low upshot angle that I don't like.
The next match
Anyway,
on the show is the debut of Z-Man. Tom Zank, Z-Man, as he takes on the Cuban assassin, of course, Fidel Sierra. I didn't write up a whole lot down about the match. It's pretty much an enhancement match that Zank wins with a sleeper hold. But the Z-Man making his WCW debut here.
It is his WCW debut, and it's not a very good debut. Like, he didn't do much. I know you're not a big Tom Zank fan, but I am. But like, just on what the guy can do, he didn't really do anything. And then he's supposed to be this high flying Z-Man athlete,
Mm-hmm.
And his finisher is the sleeper hold.
Sleeper hold, yeah.
I don't think he uses the sleeper hold very long, but I'm like, this wasn't good. I don't think he was in there with the right guy. I'm not even saying I don't like Cuban Assassin or whatever, but I just don't think it was the right guy to debut him against, and I just didn't see it.
But yeah, like Aaron's debut. Yeah, like Aaron said, lame debut for Z-Man. He's gonna pick it up here in the near future though.
Yeah.
Have a pretty good run in WCW, which is good because he burnt that fucking bridge with the WWF. I'm not saying he never could have went back because Vince brought everybody back, but he got sideways with the WWF.
He got sideways with WCW too. Tom Zank was kind of a sideways guy from what I heard. Yeah. Like on TV, he's happy go, but in real life, I heard he was a like Bob Holly pissed off all the time guy. Which is funny to think about back in the 80s, like when the guys had like big hair and mustaches,
Yeah, they're all fucking sour.
Yeah, and fucking the ones that are like Zank, they're from like Minnesota or whatever, be like, fuck you, motherfucker.
Like Ken Patera,
Yeah, I love listening to Ken Patera talk.
Me too. This motherfucker. This fucking son of a bitch.
Like the nicest voice in the world. Like the nicest accent in our entire country,
Yeah.
And you just put it on this sour ass person. It's fucking great.
Oh, one of the greatest wrestling comedy things of all time. Just because it's so random but so perfect is Scott Cornish's cranky barista Ken Patera.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, that's great.
The man that if you listen to us talk once in a while when we bring up 605 stuff, Scott Cornish is a hero here. But anyway,
did you ever watch that AWA thing I told you to watch, where they were like filming for Super Clash?
Oh yes.
And they were interviewing the fans, and I told you it was funny because they're like chugging their beers and smoking their cigarettes, and they're like, "We're here to watch the Crusher kick some fucking ass," shit like that. Like, yeah. But anyway, it's good shit.
The next thing we see, I wrote down here, I'm pretty sure Ric Flair this was probably very early in the morning, and Ric Flair was super hungover because the governor presents Ric Flair with a plaque and goes through all of his accolades. He goes through, he's like, there's like 15 whereas
Ric Flair Day.
And he presents
Governor Carroll Campbell.
Flair says nothing. Not even a woo. And he looks like, I'm pretty sure he probably had to show up at the governor's office at 9 a.m. He's probably fucking been asleep for 2 hours.
Yeah. It's Ric Flair Day.
Ric Flair.
Yes, it's Ric Flair Day. So I put in Columbia, South Carolina, anyway, from the hours of 12 p.m. to 10:45 p.m., cocaine and hookers are legal. Which Ric Flair said he never did cocaine. Did you ever see that?
Yes.
I never did cocaine. Like, okay, Rick.
Yep, I just read his book back through a couple of weeks ago for probably like the 10th time, and he says in the book he never did the cocaine.
Like, okay,
he did a lot of other shit, but he never did cocaine. I don't believe him.
I do not either. You might not remember doing cocaine. but I'm sure you did cocaine.
The next match on the show,
Off baby doll's butt.
Ranger Ross versus Sid Vicious. This is the first time in
Whew.
our Clash of the Champions series here that we've seen Sid Vicious. He's with Teddy Long and Dan Spivey because, of course, they're doing the skyscrapers gimmick. Sid was...
Yeah.
We've talked about Sid at length on the show before, but it's worth saying again. I am and always will be and always have been a fan of Sid Vicious.
Me as well. And if you watch this match, he's kind of new to WCW, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, not kind of, he is. And he was immediately over.
Absolutely. How do you look at that guy and he's not over? You know what I mean?
And he picks up a grown man who I'm not a Ranger Ross fan, but Ranger Ross is a big boy, you know what I mean? He's a big, sturdy guy. He just picks him up and whirly-birds him and throws him halfway across the ring. How are you not going to cheer for that? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I actually, I don't know if I looked at my notes. I don't know if I looked at whatever, like maybe I was looking at something. I don't know. I had looked away from the screen because I totally forgot about the whirlybird thing. And I looked away from the screen and I looked back up and Ranger Ross is just flying across the ring. So I had to rewind that motherfucker. Yeah, I had to rewind it. I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Look at that. Like a fucking sack of potatoes.
Yeah. And just whirlybird him and I was like, oh, snap. I was like, he's done. And then I was like, always pick it. And then he powerbombed the shit out of him. You do that in front of 26,000 people and probably 2,400 of them are like guys like me and you know, beer drinking, cigarette smoking dudes. You're not going to boo that. You're going to be like, yeah, fuck Ranger Ross up. He sucks. Fucking jabroni jokes, some bitch.
Yeah, Sid wins this real quick.
You ain't even a G.I. Joe. You're whatever, like fucking knockoff. I don't even know what the knockoff G.I. Joe would have been, but anyway.
Yeah, Sid wins quick as he should. This was the opposite of what we were saying about the Z-Man.
Yeah, this is how you debut a motherfucker.
Yes, and like I said, the skyscrapers have been wrestling for a minute on pay-per-views and on TV, but this is the first time we've seen them on the Clash.
Yeah, and I've always said it, like, imagine if Spivey would have got hurt instead of Sid. We would have got Sid and Mean Mark.
Yeah.
That would have been I think that would have been a totally different story. But WCW probably wouldn't have seen it. And
yeah, they wouldn't have seen it. They wouldn't have seen it. After Sid gets his quick win over Ranger Ross, Jim Cornette and Jim Ross and Jim Cornette are back to do some commentary and to do some commentary here to tell us that we're about to watch Missy Hyatt and Robin Green go shopping. Now I love it. Jim Ross is like, Missy Hyatt. It's just funny to hear Jim Cornette like they went shopping. Like, I don't know. He's not healing, not anything. He's just like, let's see what they bought when they went shopping.
Yeah. I titled this segment "Bitches Be Shopping." So it's like, it's an old comedy troupe. Women be shopping. And I was like, bitches be shopping. Yeah, it's like, it was what it was. I mean, I'm never gonna get mad about seeing Missy Hyatt and fucking Nancy Sullivan. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
All right, I'm down with this. But yeah, it was a cool angle. The whole Robin Green angle is actually pretty cool. So I didn't mind it.
They kind of subtly in this segment, if there's anybody, I'm sure most people that listen to this show have seen it, but if there's anybody that hasn't seen it, they kind of subtly hint to the fact that, Robin really, she doesn't care how much she spends on the credit card. But Missy kind of does, Missy's
Yeah,
still like,
she's the face girl of the set. She's the
yeah.
she's the one that actually likes the Steiner brothers, and I don't know if originally like they thought of having Rick turn on him, but realized how over the Steiner brothers were, or if it ultimately was always to get Doom in there or whatever. But
Yeah,
either way,
I really honestly don't think at this point that the Steiners would have broken up yet. Super early.
Yeah, but like I said, I like the segment. I like the angle and everything like that. It was cool. And like I said, Missy Hyatt kind of worked with the Steiner brothers, I thought. But yeah, it was a good all around angle.
Up next, we got Gordon Sully interviewing the Freebirds.
I've decided how I'm going to write their names on my paperwork, my homework, or whatever you want to say. Like it says in like parentheses, not the Fabulous Freebird. Like I'm Gordon Sully, and I'm standing by with not the Fabulous Freebirds.
Not the Fabulous Freebirds. Yeah.
You are, yeah. Two, like I said, it's two guys I like. I like the team, but you are not the Fabulous Freebird.
But of course, they're discussing their upcoming title match coming up next, defending the tag team championships against the Steiners. And I actually wrote down here one of my biggest notes is this match is really fucking good.
Yes, it is. Like
I mean, and with everybody considering everybody that's in it, you would expect that. But I just sometimes, when you have matches, especially on clashes, when sometimes they have to keep the matches a little shorter.
Yeah.
But for the 10, 15 minutes or whatever this match was, this might have been actually the best match on the show.
Oh, it was very good.
From bell to bell.
Like my first note is Missy Hyatt and woman are at ringside. Well, I know she's Robin Green, but like Missy Hyatt, then I know we kind of postponed a little bit because this was like kind of around WrestleMania time. So I'm like, okay, woman and Missy Hyatt out there at ringside. Neither of them are in the WWE Hall of Fame, but Michelle McCool is.
Yeah, wah, wah, wah.
But anyway.
Yeah. I'm not usually, you know how we are around here. We're not usually critics of the WWE Hall of Fame. We both always say it. We find it to be a legitimate Hall of Fame. We think it's a good thing for the performers, et cetera, et cetera. But once in a while, there's that one where you're just like, that's bullshit. And that Michelle McCool thing is fucking bullshit.
End of story. Not in the Hall. You should not be in the Hall of Fame because Mark Calloway left it in. Anyway. Like you said, the match is really good. Mm-hmm. The Birds, they actually got a lot more of the offense, and like they're doing like they're not getting like legitimate offense on them either. Like they're having to cheat for it. They do that cool, like they do a spot where they get Rick out on the floor, and they bash him into the guardrail, stuff like that. It's a good match. And Scotty's still wearing his short trunks.
And I don't know if it was just because Scotty was coming in hot or if they really worked it as good as they did. And you'll know what I say when I mean coming in hot. But essentially the finish of this is somebody, quote unquote, outside trips Scott Steiner, and he literally stumbles into a DDT for Michael Hayes to pin him. But I put in here, like, Hayes stuck him on that fucking DDT, and I don't know if it was Scott. It was because Scotty was doing the trip thing, so he was coming in hot, or I don't know if they worked that, but yeah, he stuck him on that fucking DDT. But afterwards, they're having the argument at ringside. Scotty and Rick arguing whether Missy or Robin tripped Scott. The only thing I didn't like was Jim Ross kind of overdid it. because he was like, the fans down there, I hear somebody saying she did it. And then somebody else said, no, she did it, but who's she? I did. It was the way he presented it. Like I don't know. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
You can sometimes a wrestling commentator can over-explain things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like don't dumb it down.
Right.
Sometimes that happens.
All right, so I guess I'm not the only one that.
No, I see it.
But yeah, overall, like I said, from beginning to end, this was a really good segment, really good match, really good angle to end it. We get another guy that we're seeing for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say I don't think we've seen him on a Clash yet.
No, we haven't seen him on it. The only thing we did see him.
We saw a vignette. Videos. Yeah, that's right. We saw a vignette. That's right. Yeah, okay. But it is Flying Brian making his Clash of the Champions debut against Norman the Lunatic, who's out with Teddy Long, and Flying Brian is out with the cheerleaders. And I don't know. I wrote down here at one point Cornette actually accidentally, and Cornette, the Louisville Lip, he talks fast. He actually at one point called him Brian Fryin. Brian Fryin.
Yeah. And like this was Z-Man's actual debut. I don't think this was Brian, I think, had already debuted on television.
Yeah, he had because yeah, he had definitely.
Yeah. And he was another guy like we were talking about Scotty being kind of like a Kurt Angle, where it's like you're right away, you're just good at it. Like, like there were points where he flew like you watch some of his matches and it's like he's like catapulting himself like a little too much.
Yeah.
Like guys are like having to back up to take that shit. You know what I mean? It's like, are you gonna fly right over my fucking head? That type of thing. And I think you know me, I'm not a big fucking Mike Shaw fan, but they made the right decision here, having him work with him, because I think this is like one guy that Brian Pillman, I don't think there's a lot of, but any of them anyway, that like would have been like Stampeders at the time that were in the company. So it's like Mike Shaw is probably a good guy for him to like, get his feet wet with in the company, because he's probably used to working with him, because he probably worked with him dozens of times and up in Canada. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But this is another showcase match just to get Brian Pillman over. And he wins the match with a crucifix. And I wrote down the match is good for what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Gordon Soley back with Gary Hart again on the problems with Terry Funk. And, of course...
the one where he's starting to get annoyed.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Godden.
I told you before,
Godden. And then we get Mike Rotunda versus Dr. Death Steve Williams. And I wrote down two things here. They've started referring to Mike Rotunda as Captain Mike Rotunda, which isn't going to result in something great for him here shortly. Right now he's the captain of like the wrestling team.
Yeah. Now he's gonna be a boat captain.
Soon he's gonna look like Mr. fucking Howell. Yeah. I love it. And then I also wrote down here, I don't know what it is, but until he starts teaming with Gordy in 92 in WCW never knows what the fuck they want to do with Dr. Death. He turns so many times. Every time you see it, we go through one of these shows and you go to a couple of months in the future, he's doing something complete. There's no consistency. It's like they just never know what they want to do with him. They want to feature him. Yeah. They never know what they want him to fucking be. You know what I mean?
He should just be a gigantic badass heel. With a manager. Like with Paul Heyman or Jim Cornette. Fuck, I don't care if you give him Humperdunk. Just somebody to talk for him.
Yeah.
I know it's probably blasphemy to talk bad about Oliver Humperdinck, but
man. Hey. We all Hey, you know what? There's lots of people love that I don't like. So
Yeah.
that's what being a fan is all about. We're all allowed to have our own opinion. This match isn't fantastic. It's fine. I guess I didn't take maybe you took better notes than I did, because what I wrote down, and I don't remember because I watched it. We had a couple of weeks there where we didn't do a show, so because I wrote down Dr. Death wins, but did the ref technically cheat by kicking Rotunda's hand? So
Yeah. Rotunda was trying to get leverage, and the ref kicked his hand, and Williams rolled him up. It's an old school thing.
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm watching it, I'm like, did the ref actually technically cheat on behalf of Dr. Death?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I didn't take a lot of notes on it because I'm ready for it to be done. And I'm a fan of long-term storytelling and things like that, like I hate when people bitch about it now, but it's like this varsity club feud thing, this is played out. This is like Kevin Sullivan's not even around and doing it anymore. Like this needs to be done.
Yep. And it's because it's two guys that they don't know what the fuck they want to do with them.
The one guy's like, well, let's send him to Japan, and the other guy, let's make him a boat captain. Put a little hat on him, and that's intimidating.
So the next thing we have here is me being very happy. We get an interview with Gordon Solie interviewing Lex Luger, the United States champion, and I wrote down, oh, good. Best Lex Luger is evolving, emerging.
I think he invented a few words, though. Like, I was like,
yeah, Lex Luger's invented quite a few words, like allocades and.
Yeah, it's like I can't remember what he said, but I'm like, I don't think that's a word. Like,
but he says it so convincingly.
Yeah, but yeah, this is cool, Lex Luger. Like, it's like, oh, he's got a kick-ass robe now, and
he's got the music.
Cool. He's got the music. He's actually like trying.
Yeah,
you know. He's got good opponents.
Good opponents, and actually, like you, it's fun. It's cool that you say that he's trying. It's like it seems like like I said, this moment till he leaves as a heel in '92 seems to me like the most motivated he was until shit. This is the most motivated he ever was. He gets motivated in '97 during the Nitro era, but
yeah, I think he was motivated at that time though to make more money. That's Lex Luger. Lex Luger's motivation isn't like, I want to have the best match on the card. And I'm not knocking him because I know it's a business, but Lex Luger didn't grow up a wrestling fan. Lex Luger got in the business because it was going to make him money. That's what he was there to do. And like when he went to Vince probably gave him, I don't want to say guaranteed money, but Bryce threw a shitload of money at him and was just like, all right,
yeah,
whatever. And then when he got to WCW that second time, Bischoff claims he lowballed him, and Luger accepted it anyway. Basically told Lex, I'll pay you this, but if you could prove that you're not the bastard that you were the last time, well, you can make more. And I think that time frame he made more, and when we got to like 98, he probably got himself a guaranteed money contract and was like, all right, I can scale it back again,
Yeah.
But this is good. This is good, motivated, entertaining Lex Luger. Not boring Lex Luger.
Did you watch the WrestleMania 9 documentary?
Yeah.
I actually had like a warm heart for Lex Luger when they would show him and they'd show him footage and stuff. Like you could tell he was genuinely just he's like, oh yeah, thank you for showing me this. Like he was like the one. He was so genuinely happy to see. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Luger's a
Like,
cool dude. Like I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm just saying like business wise, I think once he got it's like I think when Lex Luger gets too comfortable,
yeah,
I
he
think
gets
he becomes
complacent. Yeah.
complacent and he's like, I'm making my money. Why should I put forth even more effort? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then he just becomes boring.
Well, on this night in 1989, not boring. He has a actually really good match, U.S. title match with
Yeah.
Tommy Rich. Like I said, he's got the robe, he's got the music now. There was one spot during this match. I think Rich was doing a suplex or something from Luger from the outside to the inside, and he dropped Luger on his head. That was kind of scary.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Corny on commentary, Corny was doing a good job actually putting Rich over and explaining why he why he should be there and like kind of explaining the differences of Luger and Rich and all this shit. And I think like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy's a former NWA champion. He was voted the most popular wrestler. And like I think they were wanting to do something with Rich
Yeah.
in '89 because like later on, I think he even has like I think he even has like what they bill as like Harley Race's last match or whatever, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't.
Yeah, he wrestles. He wrestles Harley Race. I think it's on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I don't know if they bill it as Harley's last match, but
Okay.
but they definitely put over the former NWA champion versus former NWA champion. They talk about how Rich was one of the guys that beat Harley Race for the title, and et cetera, et cetera. But yes, there's definitely a match. I think it's definitely on a pay-per-view. It's not on a Clash,
Yeah.
so we're not going to see it in this series. But
I was like former NWA champion, but they don't go former NWA champion for 6-7 days, something like that. But anyway,
well, Lex Luger wins this match. As he pretty much puts Tommy Rich's throat over the top rope, gets a pin, pins Rich. But like I said, I wrote down this was actually a really good TV match for the U.S. title.
yeah, I enjoyed it.
And here we go. Gordon Soley is back to
Still
harass.
giving Gary Hart the business.
And finally, Gary Hart's like, God damn it, Gordon.
It's true, his arm is broken.
Yeah, he's got a letter from the doctor about Terry Funk having to have surgery. And then we get an awesome Terry Funk in the hospital bed promo.
Yeah, he was in Baton Rouge or something like that, some pre-taped hospital interview. I do like the fact that Gary Hart kept telling Gordon Soley that Terry Funk's hurt, but he's in the building,
He's
and
in the
everybody thought he
building.
was
Yes.
lying.
Yes.
Everybody thought he was lying about him being in the building, and we're gonna find out. Like this guy told you the truth. Like
I haven't been lying to you. Yeah, pretty much Terry Funk's promo is, you all suck. I bet you're happy I'm in this hospital bed. You probably wish they would have killed me. But and then Gordon Soley does an interview with Sting and Ric Flair.
Did you hear what Gordon Soley said at the end of it, though?
If what I have wrote down here is the same thing that you're thinking of,
he sent it back to
Gary,
our ring announcer, Gary Michael Caputa.
Yeah, that's what I wrote that now. He said, let's get back to Gary Michael Caputa.
Let's get back to Gary Michael Caputa.
Which was definitely a rib because they were like, I don't want to say buddies, but like Gordon Soley and Gary Michael Caputa were by no means strangers.
Yeah, but he said Caputa.
Later on down the line, Jesse Ventura will call him Kaputsky.
Kaputsky.
Let's go to Gary Michael Kaputsky. For the very brief time that Capeta's still there while Dusty's there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Dusty, Jesse. Our main event is Ric Flair and Sting versus Muta and Dick Slater, who is substituting for Terry Funk, which is awesome because Dick Slater pretty much just has his career cosplaying as Terry Funk.
Yeah, it's like
I
if you were
I say it all the time.
No, I mean it's like if you would go to the restaurant, okay, and you're like, what would you like to drink? You're like, do you have Dr. Pepper? And then the waitress is like, is Mr. Pibb okay? You're like, I guess. So this is like, you went to your class and be like, do you have Terry Funk?
Is Dick
Like,
Slater
no.
okay?
Is Dick Slater okay? Like, I guess. But anyway.
I always have to, whenever I do it on any of our shows, I always have to say I'm in no way, shape, or form shitting on Dick Slater, folks. But Dick Slater spent most of his career cosplaying as Terry Funk. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'll shit on him. He did it. I don't know. I mean, I understand like every wrestler borrows from every other wrestler. You know, it's like no, it's impossible not to. Like, because most wrestlers most wrestlers grew up as wrestling fans, so you're naturally going to take from things that you remember. You know what I mean? As a kid, it's like that with anything. It's like, well, not anything, but like it's like that with comedy. You know, comedians are like other comedians. Like, okay, you know.
Steve Austin clearly liked David Schultz.
Yeah, shit like that, and then it's like that with music. You know, like David Grohl was getting interviewed by I think it was like John Legend or whatever, and talked about how like Nirvana's like his beats on like his drum beating on Nirvana's like albums. He's like, if you listen to it, it's like it's in rock and roll music, but it's like he's like, I stole shit from like the Gap Band, you know, because I really liked the Gap Band and shit like that. So like it's going to happen in wrestling. So that's what I'm getting a long way to say this. Subtle things are fine, but he's just being Terry Funk. Be like, okay, whatever.
I put down here.
You're basically Stan Lee, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
not even trying. But go ahead.
I put down here. I like this match, and with all of the stuff that goes on in this match, with everything that goes on, everything that goes down, there's this very there's a lot going on. Everybody's got to get in their spots. You know, you got to get the mist in. You got to get Gary Hart with the coins. But overall, other than afterwards with the Funk Flair deal, this match itself, the meat of the match is really a showcase for Sting. They are really the other guys involved in this match are really getting Sting over in this match.
They are, and it's funny because like he didn't do it much. Like in like I want to say 90, like starting like 93, he didn't do it very much. But he always did that big like giant leap over the top rope, and for like a guy his size to be able to do it, it's like it's a crazy move, you know?
Yeah,
especially like for a guy that size. But WCW would never caught it. Like they would never get it on camera.
Yeah,
like properly. Like he does it at a Starrcade when he teams with, I think he teams with like Mike Hayes and somebody else, and it's like it gets one of the biggest reactions of the night, but the camera just fucking misses it, and they miss it on this thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, he probably stopped doing it because he was like, I'm fucking my elbows up, and they never fucking catch it. But anyway,
yeah, this match, like I said, a lot going on here. Especially, like I said, Sting works the majority of the match as the Ricky Morton, I guess you'd say, of the match.
Yeah.
He eventually gets a hot tag to Ric Flair. Great Muta sprays Sting in the face with the yellow mist.
The most toxic mist.
It is the most toxic mist. I'm a big fan of the mist and the levels of mist. It's like
they foreshadowed it, by the way. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Like they were talking in the match, and they were like talking about the different mists, and Jim Ross was like, "We've seen the red mist, and we've seen the black mist. I heard the most dangerous of all the mists is yellow mist. We have yet to see that."
We need to make a, what do they call that with peppers? The Scullum scale or something for how hot they are. We need some kind of a Scullum scale or whatever for
Muda's mist.
For Muda's mists.
Yeah, the yellow mist is the worst of the worst.
Yeah, he sprayed that shit on Sting. And then Dick Slater.
My favorite mist ever was that one from last month with the what's his nut, that Steve Casey guy or whatever. Because Muda was trying to do his thing, and he got up in his face, and Muda it wasn't like over dramatic or anything. He just shot it right in his face.
Oh, fuck out of my
face. When it happened, you were like, "Well, that was stupid, Steve Casey." But anyway, this was debilitating to Sting, and then we get something that got them in just about as much trouble as they got when they told nobody was allowed to blade, and Dusty bladed.
Yeah, it's Ric Flair. Well, Dick Slater. Well, essentially, Muda and Slater get disqualified because Muda hits the spray on Sting. Slater hits Ric Flair with his cast. So we get chaos. But really good chaos after this match. Lots of heel heat here.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And like I said, it was a cool visual, but they got in a lot of trouble. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Terry Funk does show up. He's in something I mentioned before in classic WCW at this time fashion. He's wearing a tuxedo for no reason. There's always somebody in a tuxedo of some sort. And he attacks Ric Flair and proceeds to tie a plastic bag over Ric Flair's head. And you're like, oh my God, who thought this was a good idea?
It would have been fine on pay-per-view, probably.
Possibly.
Okay, it would have been. I think they would have gotten less trouble if it was on pay-per-view over on network television.
They would have, because it's like Bischoff said. It's like Bischoff said, they'd get away with more on pay-per-view because they didn't have Turner couldn't tell them what to do when they were on pay-per-view.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it was different standards and practices on pay-per-view. But that's why they did a lot of those hardcore matches and stuff, with the Nasty Boys and everything. That's why they did a lot of that shit on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Because they could get away with it on pay-per-view at the time, but WCW television didn't want a bunch of trash cans and all that different shit. But yeah, it's just I thought the bag thing was cool, but if I'm a television executive and I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? Some kid is going to put a bag over some other kid's head, and this is going to be a thing.
But yeah, Terry Funk puts, like Aaron said, a plastic bag over Flair's head and suffocates him with that. Sting gets I think Slater hit him in the leg with a tire iron or something. So
it was Funk's branding iron.
Funk's branding iron. There you go. And so the heels, like I said, massive heel heat here to end the show. As the show goes off the air, they even show Brian Pillman giving CPR to Ric Flair to get, like Aaron said, they went way way farther than they probably should have. Cool for us to watch it now.
Yeah.
But as far as being a corporate wrestling company, it's kind of like,
I'm gonna tell Brian Pillman, be like, you might want to be careful, buddy. We'll get them herpes.
Get the herpes.
Get some Ric Flair like that. Ric Flair might have herpes.
So I will say, as we do, when I ask from the last clash to this clash, did we go downward? Did we go upward? Or did we stay status quo? I really enjoyed this show, and I think it was a step up from the last clash that we watched.
Storyline wise and angle wise and stuff, I think it would be a step up. But I actually liked um the action of and the feel of last time against this one.
Okay.
I don't know. I
That's
liked
fair
that. I
enough.
liked
Yeah.
that. That's one of my that one we watched last week. That's one of my favorite clashes. It's the crowd's into it. It looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gritty because it's so hot in that fucking building.
Right.
There's a lot of matches on it. Yeah, I just thought that had a more cool atmosphere to it.
Well, that being said, next week, 2
Big one.
words. 2 words, 5 letters. I quit.
Yeah, this is a biggie. This is a big show, a big match. It's
For
the New
8 for
York
80
knockout.
for the next matchup for 80s and 90s wrestling kids, wrestling fans, this is a big one coming up. The New York Knockout, Clash of the Champions 9.
It's one of those matches that was you talked about it after it happened.
Yes.
And you went out of your way to try to find it again, and yeah, it's good shit.
Well, that being said, Aaron, anything else to say to our listeners before we sign off this week?
No, just thanks for listening, and sorry about the delay, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen too much again going forward.
All right, and I agree. And I will say, just really quick, for those of you not already in the group, if you're not in the group, join the WNR Podcast Facebook group. Join the WNR Podcast Network YouTube page. And go ahead and check it out there if that's where you like to listen to your podcast as well. Otherwise, just keep listening, keep telling everybody you know if you enjoy the show about the show. We appreciate you as much as you appreciate listening. Maybe, probably more. I said maybe, probably more like I'm Donald Trump. Maybe, probably more. Maybe. I don't know. People are saying. But
biggest podcast of
it's people are saying it's. I don't know who they are. I don't know. But they just come to me and they say, sir. They're telling us this. Anyway, we'll see you next week, everybody. Clash of the Champions 9 coming up.